first thing I do on a cape that's been purchased, this was a purchased cape, okay? This is a cape. I purchased another cape for my deer, and the first thing I want to do is I want to determine the size of the ears. This little deer's got pretty big ears. So I take my calipers, and yeah, I don't use them this way, the way calipers are normally used. I open them in a reverse fashion. I lock one point into the V-notch, which is right down here, okay? The other end, I open up until I go a little past the tip. Then I squeeze it down a little bit until I'm just about at the brown hairline, right here. I take this to my ruler, lay it on my ruler, and you want to be careful. You want to make sure you have a ruler that the measurements, that the marks don't start like, well, some rulers they'll start about 1/8 of an inch in. This one goes all the way out to the. This is a good drafting ruler. It goes all the way out to the very edge. And what we've got here, we've got an ear that measures over 6.5 inches. It measures out at 6 5/8 inches. Now that's a good size ear. That's a large ear. 6 5/8 inches of the measurement right here. Okay? That's the length of the ear. 6 5/8 inches. I'll mark that. Right now I'll just mark it on the brown paper here. And this is the deer's left ear. So I'll just write L 6 5/8 inches. You could do it a millimeter if you like. I'll just write it down in inches. The next measurement I take, I measure across the ear opening. Now this is the way the Ohio Taxidermy Supply catalog measures their ear liners for width. And I've been doing it like this for years, even back when they were Buckeye mannequins. You go into the highest point here at the front of the fold, and then squeeze the calipers a little bit until you get to the edge. And you can squeeze together the hair, and you can feel where the edge of the ear is, of the actual ear. So we're here. We'll go to the ruler and determine that this is, okay, this will work out to about a 3-inch wide ear. These are very good sized ears on this little deer. So, length, width. Length is 6 5/8. The width is 3 inches. This is for the left ear. Now, both ears don't necessarily have the same measurement. So, I'm going to repeat the measuring process on the right ear. Okay? Now, I noticed in the Mackenzie catalog and some other suppliers' catalogs, they have you go over the back of the deer's ear. Alright? And that's cool if that's the way they measure their ear liners. I say that's not the way I measure ear liners, but in that case, you simply want to go over the ear, like so. And here we get, 4 3/4 inches measured over the ear at the widest point. Okay, so that's the measurement for other suppliers' ear liners that measure over the back of the ear. That's how that's done. All right, on this deer, having the measurements, armed with the measurements I have, two of my favorite ear liners will not work. They're just a little too small. These are the M100s on the Ohio Taxidermy Supply. I believe that's M100. They have a nice finished ear canal interior, which I love. Too small. This is the new Carrie Cochran ear liner which you can leave the bottom cartilage in place or carve the cartilage away from the bottom, put a little bit of epoxy in there, and simply press the skin in and create the details that you want using the deer's own skin. Not going to work. These ears are big enough to warrant Ohio Taxidermist Supplies large ear liners. You see, this is not going to work here. This is just not going to work. You see how much shorter it is on the tip. When you go, you match the V-notch, and you can see it's a much smaller ear liner. The large size will work. The largesse will work. The large size of ear liners will, in fact, work for this particular deer. Alrighty, here I'm going to demonstrate turning an ear after the cape has been removed from the deer. I normally turn the ears while they're still attached to the skull, as the head is an anchor point and helps hold the ear in place while it's being turned. Essential tools for turning the ears and getting them split out to their edges: an ear opener. This is a Van Dyke's version of an ear opener. What I like about it is it has this heavy-duty spring right here, and that spring returns the blades back to the closed position. As you go into the ear with the ear openers and spread them, it snaps it back down with little assistance from your finger. The Jonas ear openers, when you open them, you have to get your finger in between the handle and, you know, bring the blades back together. I've got a sharpening steel to keep my knives sharp. Another type of sharpener which works real well. This is the Edgemaster Pro. This is a good one for starting an edge on a knife, and this is good for keeping the edge on the knife. And then I have various versions of my J.A. Henkel's paring knives. We have I don't know what, I guess this is a 6-inch knife. This one here is a 8-inch, I would say. I guess I could get a ruler and measure them. Oh yeah, I could do that. Okay, well, the favorite one I like, alright, this is well, I guess they measure the blade actually, so this is almost nearly a 3.5-inch blade. This one has a 4-inch blade, and this bird's beak or curved tip paring knife, this is about a 2.25-inch blade. I use all of these during different stages. I'll drop a knife and pick up another one without any notice. It's just how my hands work. It's how I function doing this. So I'm going to get started, and I'm going to start by opening up a pouch around the red meat that's left here on the ear. So when I say a pouch, I'm going to create a pocket, I guess you'd say, for getting the ear openers into in between the ear skin and the cartilage. So I'm going to start by paring away the meat. Some people like to use scalpels. I don't. Scalpels have a purpose. Scalpels are good for cutting, slicing. That's what scalpels were developed for. Using them for fleshing and whatnot, that's really, some people can do it, fine. I don't bother. I was taught to use knives. I'm competent and confident using knives, and I know how to sharpen my knives on a sharpening steel. Here's how you would sharpen a knife using the Edgemaster Pro. You put it on the edge of your table. Alright, this goes on the edge of the table, and the knife, you hold it here, just hold it tight, flat against the table, and you simply draw your knife blade gently between the two sharpeners. You go anywhere from 5 to 8 swipes on the rough one, and then 5 to 8 swipes on the one next to it, and that will give you a good serviceably sharp blade. And now we can take it and we can get in here and we can start loosening this up. See how nice that cuts. I'm going to keep loosening this all the way around. I want to form a pocket. And yes, I will go to a little smaller paring knife. I just wanted to use this one to demonstrate how that one knife sharpener is used. Now I'm going to go with my little curved tip paring knife. A lot of people, when they sharpen on a steel, they go like this. It's really best to kind of go in a downward motion. I had a professional chef and meat cutter show me that that's the way he did it. I started doing it that way, and I have much better results. Much better results. The main thing is we're cutting away the fascia that attaches the skin to the ear muscle itself. Taking that all away. Just cutting along. All the way around. Now, when you come to the V-notch, which is the front of the ear, on the structure of the ear, when you come to the ear here, on the inside, you don't want to cut that. You want to be careful that you don't slice through the V-notch. So you just carefully pare away the skin, and you can see what a tight attachment that V-notch is right here. Okay. Now we continue pulling the skin and slicing into the connective fascia tissue. Okay. And we're going to form a pocket. Now with my hand on the outside of the ear skin, I pull like so. This is where leaving it attached to the head is very handy. But I pull the ear skin back like this, and with this hand, I'll rest my pinky against the ear cartilage on the meat, and I'll push away and pull on the skin. I'm creating a pocket, like so. And I'll continue to do that. Now that the skin has been loosened up around the bottom edge of the ear, I'll go along, like so. Now, there's a nice pocket started right here. You can see my thumb under there. Now, I'm going to take the ear opener, my Van Dyke's ear opener, and I'm going to insert it in that pocket, and I'm going to pull. Oh, one thing, let me review something about these ear openers. When you get them, there may be a little flange, a little bit of a seam on the very tip. I also like to file the tips down a little tighter, or to make a little smaller profile, okay? And so I create a tip that will not tear through the skin. That can happen if you have a sharp area on the tip of your ear openers. Okay, so with the ear openers in place, in the pocket you've created, and with the handles leaning down on the table, they're all making contact with the tabletop. I pull back, push in, squeeze the handles, pull back, push in. The reason I'm pulling back is as the ear opener spreads and opens up inside, it may catch a little bit of tissue in the tip of the blades, and pulling back simply releases that tissue. That's why that's done. And it's easier to stand up and work over it than it would be to do this while in a sitting position. There we go. Now we start going all the way down to the tip. There we go. Just like so. Now, with my hands on the outside here, like so, all right, I direct where I want the ear openers to be in position. I direct it from the outside, from the exterior. Go all the way down to the tip. And you want to be careful. They will slide inside the ear and get toward the edge. If you don't pay attention to that, you will bust the ear open. That's what you want to avoid that at all costs. You don't want to go busting the ear open. Now, I'm going to create another pocket a little more further off to the other side. Right, create another pocket to the left where the ear openers went in, so that now the ear opener will go more down the center of the ear. Again, direct it from the outside. Don't let it slip over to where it's already opened, because that will blow the edge of the ear. You can hear it opening the ear. Now, we're right in the center. We want to go right to the edge. To the tip, I should say. And we stop right here with the ear opener. You can go a little further, but you've got to be careful, man. You've got to be careful. Otherwise, you will blow the tip open. Now, I'm going to direct this over to the outer edge of the ear. Open it as I go. There. I'd say that's about it for using the ear opener at this point. Now that I've gone in and opened the interior of the ear, I'm going to reach in with my hand, with my fingers, thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to pull the cartilage out as I pull the skin down and invert the whole thing inside out. At this point, we can start carefully cutting the edge along the edge so that we can get the skin, the ear skin, to the edge of the cartilage as we go. Like so. Here it is. Now, you can go further and really expose the edge, but I would suggest strongly you only do that after the skin has gone through the tan. The reason is, if you make the edge as thin as possible at this point, during the tanning process, I send mine out to a commercial tannery. I used to tan my own, but not anymore. Where we live, we're on a well system, and I do not want to pollute our groundwater. So, I no longer do my own tanning. Disposing of the chemicals is tough. That's a tough thing to do. And if you get caught disposing of chemicals, you're going to pay a hefty fine. So it's up to you what you want to do. I send mine out to a tannery who's licensed and bonded to dispose of the chemicals that they use. Now, back to what I was saying earlier. I only go so far to the edge. In the tannery, they will tumble the skins. All right. It doesn't matter if you're using a dry tan method where they go through a sawdust tumbler, or if it's a wet tan. They will still tumble the hides to remove moisture and whatnot. If it's right to the very edge, the ears can blow out. If it's filled with, if there's sawdust in the tumbling drum, they will fill with sawdust. If the edge of the ears are weak, you could possibly blow them out. There's a lot of things to think about when you're turning ears. I would say, if you're going to use dry preservative, but I will not say that because there's no such thing as dry preservative. There are powders that will dry out the skin. But basically what you're giving your client a raw skin mount. Not good, not good, not good at all. Raw skin mounts attract insects like a barbecue, attracts meat eaters. I go so far, and not much more. Okay? I release this. I should say I release the tendons and veins that are attached to the skin by just simply slicing through the edge. Okay? Like so. I also use what little fingernails I've got to roll the skin. Now, you can feel from the outside, I can feel there's about this much unturned ear skin. And that's all right. You can see as I pull along how the skin is moving down the ear cartilage. You do this, but do it carefully. All right? Don't do it. Don't get in there and yank and pull, or you will tear the ear open. You notice there's a common thread, a thread running through this constantly, and it's called blowing out the ears or tearing the ears open. Okay, this, like flushing the face, has got to be done with a little light touch, a little deft. All right, and before I turn the right ear, I will catch measurements. Now, there will be little connective tendons and things. I simply get under them with the knife blade, lift them, and cut away. That's all. There. This is now turned enough for salting. I go to the tip of the ear, and with my thumbnail, I go in, and I continue to peel the skin just a bit. Wherever there's connective tissue, okay, I take the knife blade. With the blade up, I go under the little connective tissue, the vein, and I slice that away. Now, this right here is turned well enough for salting. Okay? This will salt beautifully. The next thing to do now is to dissect the meat away from the cartilage. Carefully work the knife blade down. You don't want to cut into that front V-notch. And again, I do this by getting the blade under the meat and cutting away. I can then grab the meat that I've just sliced, and I can start working it away from the ear butt. The ear cartilage, I should say. I'm removing the ear butt muscle from the ear cartilage proper. Like so. Now you do want to be aware when you're putting the knife blade in between the cartilage and the meat that you don't cut into the cartilage. You don't want to slice a piece of cartilage away. You just want to remove the meat from the cartilage. Remember, any hole you make in the cartilage will be a hole in the front of the ear skin. All right? This is the back of the ear. I use an ear liner to demonstrate this. But the back of the ear here is the front of the ear here. And if you cut through the back of the ear here, it will show on the front. And you will have a repair to make. And I showed how to make repairs to ears in my deer mounting video. You know, shit happens. Shit happens. What are you going to do? It happens. Every now and then you may cut through. Learn how to make a repair. Again, I put down one knife to pick up another. That's all. And when I use the word dissect, that's exactly what you're doing. You're dissecting the muscle tissue from the cartilage of the ear. This is dissection. No, it's not biology class, but this is a type of dissection. I like to be careful. There are guys who will just go in and just cut the whole damn thing off. Well, I want to be sure what I've got in the way of detail in my ear liners before I go cutting things off. Okay? The large ear liners from Ohio Taxidermy Supply do not have an interior detail. They do not have the interior ear cartilage detail. They do have an ear cartilage canal detail insert. And when you get to the bottom, you cut that off. Nice and clean. Now I just go along and I'm going to open just a little more, approaching the V-notch without opening the V-notch. And this will all be figured out after I get the cape back from the tannery as far as how much of the base of this ear is going to come off. The base of the cartilage is going to come off. On the ear liners that have the interior detail, on these ear liners that have got interior detail, I generally cut the ears about here. I cut this cartilage off about here. That gets glued down. This detail is what remains, and it's a nice product. It's nice to have that detail. On those that have no detail in the ear canal, you have one of two ways you can go. You can either cut this off. You can either cut this off and use an insert, or when you remove the cartilage from the ear, you carve it away all the way down. And you can leave the skin attached to the cartilage. Rather, I should say, you can leave the ear canal skin in place and dissect it away from the ear cartilage. Any little bits of ear cartilage that remain, try to get them all off, because then you can put a ball of epoxy or epoxy sculpt, and I would use the pink color, but you could put that down in the base of the ear, press the remaining skin down into that. You can combine that with the ear canal tool that Research Mannequin sells. Makes a nice detailed ear. Now here I'm just going to make sure I have the cartilage all together for the ear, where it was actually cut away a little bit. I want to make sure that's in place properly, or properly in place, however you form your sentences. Me, I tend to form my sentences ass backwards. There we go. We have turned an ear that is been detached from the head while on the skin. And while I've got this skin here, let me point out a couple of other things. Like I say, this was not skinned by me, but there was a lot of meat left on the face. Now, if you're sending off to a tannery, I can tell you, they appreciate a little bit of meat left on here. Will the salt penetrate? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. This is not a lot of meat, but leave a little bit, just a little coating of red meat on the face. Why? When they're working on the round knife, and going along and slicing that off, it's better that they have this to grab onto, that this will plump in the pickle. And when this is plumped in the pickle, this will get shaved, and they can avoid cutting the skin on the face. Little advice that was told to me by Mr. Keith Daniels of Arlington Cape Tannery. I'm going to continue. I'm going to get the other ear done. This deer will then go onto the salt rack, be salted, hung up to drain, folded, shipped off to the tannery. Toodaloo.